I've spent decades on the range, in the field, and behind the bench, pulling triggers on just about everything that goes bang. And let me tell you, not every gun deserves your trust. Some manufacturers have earned a place on my belt for life, while others, I wouldn't touch even if they were free and came with a case of ammo. So today, we're lining up the big names of the gun world, the good, the bad, and the downright dangerous, and ranking them from bottom of the barrel to absolute top-tier reliability. I'm not here to sugarcoat. If you're thinking about what brand you'd trust in a life-or-death moment, you need to hear this. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future breakdowns like this. Now, lock and load. Let's get into it. The absolute worst. Saturday night specials. When you talk about failure in the firearms industry, one name doesn't come to mind. It's an entire era. Back in the 70s through the 90s, a handful of California manufacturers flooded the market with cheap zinc alloy pistols. Names like Lorson, Raven, Jennings, Jimenez, and Brico. They were called Saturday night specials for a reason. They were affordable, yes, but dangerously unreliable. Slides cracked, frames warped, safeties barely worked, and accidental discharges weren't rare. They were expected. Their low price tag, often under $100, came at the cost of basic safety. One by one, lawsuits and bankruptcy wiped them off the map. Even the last holdout, Jimenez Arms, closed its doors in 2020 after regulators finally stepped in. If you value your fingers or your freedom, stay far, far away. Taurus, the mixed bag. You want to love but can't. Now, moving up, barely, we've got Taurus. Here's the thing, Taurus has been improving. Their recent models like the GX4 show promise, but their history is a legal minefield. From the massive 2016 class action settlement to recent safety notices about drop fire risks. For a company that's been sued over guns firing with the safety engaged, trust doesn't come easy. Yes, they're budget-friendly. Yes, you'll find passionate Taurus owners online. But when reliability could mean the difference between walking away or not, cheap starts to feel very expensive. Kel-Tec, innovation meets inconsistency. Then there's Kel-Tec, the mad scientist of the gun world. They dream big. Folding rifles, twin-tube shotguns, space-age carbines. Nobody innovates quite like them. But here's the problem. For every genius design that runs flawlessly, there's another one that jams every third round. I've owned Kel-Tecs that ran like sewing machines and others that were pure frustration. Even their iconic Sub-2000 was recalled for a barrel issue that could cause catastrophic failure. Kel-Tec's creativity deserves respect, but when it comes to betting your life on a gun, creative isn't always what you want. You want consistent, and that's where they missed the mark. Remington, the fallen giant. Everyone knows Remington, the green box ammo, the legendary Model 700, the iconic 870 shotgun. But legacy alone doesn't save you from bad decisions. The X-Mark Pro trigger scandal shook the industry. Rifles that could fire without touching the trigger. Millions recalled. Then came bankruptcies, factory closures, and declining quality control. Today, Rem Arms is trying to resurrect the brand, rebuilding one shotgun and one rifle at a time. But rebuilding trust? That's going to take years. A name once synonymous with American reliability now sits in limbo, respected but no longer revered. Walther and Ruger. Reliable but not legendary. Now we move to the middle ground. Brands that work but don't quite reach icon status. Walther, for instance, builds some of the smoothest shooting pistols on earth. The PPQ has an incredible trigger, and the PDP is pure German precision. But in the US, their footprint is small. Limited holsters, aftermarket parts, and local support. Great guns, underrepresented. Then there's Ruger, the working man's brand. Their revolvers like the GP100 and their 10-22 rifles are practically indestructible. You'll find Rugers in truck glove boxes, hunting lodges, and shooting clubs across the country. But their semi-auto pistols have always been more solid budget choice than professional's pick. If you want something affordable and dependable for the range or home defense, Ruger's your friend. But if your life's on the line, you might look higher. Springfield Armory and CZ, proven but flawed. Now we're entering the good territory, guns that shoot beautifully but carry a bit of baggage. Springfield Armory nailed it with the Hellcat, one of the first micro-compacts that delivered capacity and shootability in a tiny frame. And the Echelon feels like a gun built for hard-duty use, balanced, accurate, and rugged. But Springfield's name still bears scars from that Illinois political scandal years back. And for many shooters, that left a permanent bad taste. CZ, on the other hand, is pure craftsmanship. Their CZ75 is a legend. Their Shadow 2 dominates competitions. And their P10 series finally gave them a modern striker-fired option that can hang with Glock and SIG. Their only weakness? Availability. In the US, parts and magazines can be harder to find, and that lack of ecosystem holds them back. Performance-wise, though, Czech's Lodies are a joy to shoot. FN and SIG Sauer, elite but imperfect. Now we're talking heavyweights. FN Herstal has been supplying the world's militaries for over a century. The M249 SAW, the SCAR, the M240, all FN designs. Their handguns, like the FNX45 and 509, are battle-proven, but high prices and limited civilian adoption keep them just below the top tier. They're professional tools, not mainstream favorites. Then comes SIG Sauer, the definition of modern versatility. Their P320 platform revolutionized modular handguns, one frame, endless configurations. The U.S. Army adopted it as the M17 and M18, and law enforcement agencies followed fast. But with fame came controversy, drop-fire lawsuits, accidental discharge claims, and lingering legal clouds. SIG's voluntary upgrade program helped, but the damage to trust lingers. Phenomenal guns, slightly tarnished reputation. Smith & Wesson, the American workhorse. Few names carry as much weight in the firearm world as Smith & Wesson. From the old-school revolvers to the M&P pistol line, they've stood for one thing: reliability you can count on. The M&P 2.0 series in particular has become a staple for both law enforcement and civilian carriers. These guns just run, round after round, magazine after magazine. Sure, there have been small recalls here and there, but nothing systemic. S&W found that sweet spot between affordability and battle-tested dependability. It's no wonder you'll see them in holsters from coast to coast. When people ask me, would you trust your life to it? My answer's yes, every single time. Glock, the undisputed champion. And finally, we arrive at the top of the mountain. Glock, no frills, no fancy finishes, just function over everything. You can drop it, drag it through mud, run it dry, and it'll keep firing. That's why military, police, and everyday citizens around the world rely on them. They aren't glamorous. The trigger's basic, the design's boxy, but that simplicity is their genius. Easy to maintain, endless aftermarket parts, magazines everywhere. Glock built not just a gun, but a global ecosystem of reliability. I've personally seen Glock survive things that would cripple other pistols. Sand, water, freezing cold, neglect, and they just keep cycling. If you need a pistol that works when everything else fails, there's only one answer. That's why, after decades of shooting and testing, Glock stands as my #1 brand. Not because it's flashy, but because when it matters most, it simply works. So there it is, from the disasters to the dependable. 12 brands, 7 ranks, and 1 truth. When it comes to firearms, trust is everything. You don't buy a gun just for the range. You buy it for that one moment you pray never comes. And in that moment, you'll want something that fires every time. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment with the brand you trust the most. And remember, it's not about owning the most expensive gun. It's about owning the one that always goes bang. Stay safe, shoot straight, and I'll see you in the next one.